Coming to you live from Johannesburg, I'm Gareth Edwards. This is Tonight with Jane Dutton. Well, tonight, investigated for impropriety, then chaos and mass resignations at the Public Investment Corporation. Now it appears even trade unions were in on the looting of the PIC. So the questions we have to ask tonight: how will the Finance Minister choose the next board? And should those whose money is on the line have their say? It's your electricity, it's your taxpayers' money. Eskom has projected a 20 billion rand loss, and it's calling for even more tariff hikes. Mining companies have gone to war in response. They want to pay less, and for Eskom to possibly be broken up. But will the trade unions support this? And coming up later, Checkpoint looks at human rights abuses in Zimbabwe and the latest cleanup operations by that country's government. First, we lead with this on Tonight with Jane Dutton. A student has been shot dead at the University of Technology, Durban University of Technology, I might add. The 20-year-old died in hospital following clashes between protesting students and university security guards. The students allegedly attacked security guards and staff at the university. Police say they have arrested 4 students. Classes at the campus at this hour remain closed. Demonstrations also taking place today at several other tertiary institutions in KwaZulu-Natal. Meanwhile, Wits University was brought to a standstill when protesting students there clashed with security guards this morning. They're on a hunger strike over accommodation and debt. The university has suspended all academic activities. It says the student demands would put the institution at financial risk, as they put it.
We have, over the last 2 weeks, received applications, and the numbers vary because the SRC's numbers differ from ours. I've asked for these lists to be reconciled. According to the information that I have received up till this morning, we will be processing about 187 students to register. In other words, the applications have been approved. There's a committee sitting right now, actually came just from there now, who are considering another 200 applications, and they will know very soon whether they in fact have been successful. That's separate. That's the registration part. The accommodation part is that the Dean of Students have received plus minus 130 applications for students who need what we call emergency accommodation, and the university have been processing thus far about 60 of those students, and they have been placed in accommodation. We must realize that the university cannot provide accommodation to all its students. There are 25,000 undergraduates and about 13,000 postgraduate students because we only have 6,700 beds available within the university's control.
Over 220 million rand that is meant for drought-stricken farmers in KZN has gone missing. That's while the water crisis is far from over. New water restrictions are now being put into place. ENCA's Siphamandla Goge reports.
It's been 4 years, but no one knows what happened to the 220 million rand given by national government to KwaZulu-Natal for drought relief. The province was declared a disaster area following a crippling drought in 2015.
We had started investigations. We haven't concluded the investigations that we've started. We do have the draft of what is coming out of those investigations, and we should be able to finalize those investigations fairly soon, because we want to ensure that when monies are appropriated for a particular need in the communities, monies are spent where they are supposed to be spent.
What's more, residents from 7 of the province's districts must now brace themselves for more water cuts.
To mitigate the impact of the drought water, we are looking at the water restrictions that may be imposed to all the consumers, both domestic and the business consumers. Water conservation campaigns are continuing amongst various communities on an ongoing basis.
And farmers are bearing the brunt of the crisis.
It is impacting very badly, both to the subsistence farmers as well as the commercial farmers are impacted by this negative situation, especially again in the areas of Midlands, Uthugela district and other parts of the north.
The National Disaster Management Centre is now allocating a further 120 million rand for drought relief, even though authorities can't account for the money they previously received. Siphamandla Koke, Durban.
Well, evidence presented by investigators at the state capture inquiry corroborates testimony against Tito Mboweni. Witness Angelo Agrizi is claiming that the former SAA chair showed him and Gavin Watson top secret papers at a Pretoria hotel. Booking forms and a sworn statement prove she was staying there at the time. You need the details. Here's Aaron Bates.
She warned me with words like, "I will kill you if you tell anyone about our conversation."
News 24 editor Adrian Basson detailed a threatening phone call he received from someone linked to Bosasa.
Are you Adrian Basson with ID number? Do you live at this address? Are these your friends and are these your family members? And she proceeded to read a quite accurate list of names of friends and family members. Some intelligence was done on me. And that the real purpose of the call was not to help me, but to scare me.
I do.
Next up, Bosasa associate Greg Lawrence testified he delivered millions in cash.
The money would come either in boxes or plastic bags, depending which client it was and how I received it from them. And pretty much exactly the way I received it from my clients, I would take through to Bosasa.
Lawrence is implicating himself in an alleged money laundering racket and recorded some of the deliveries. Here, wads of cash on his car's back seat.
What were your suspicions?
They were using it for something that was underhanded. No one would want that amount of money on a regular basis, the amount that I was giving. No one would want to just use it for their personal use. So, and the rumour about Bosasa in the industry was that they bribed.
Lead investigator Frank Dutton shared how Tito Mboweni was staying at the venue where Angelo Agrizi alleges she revealed top secret information. And investigator Themba Mlambo says late last year, witness Richard Leroux took him to 4 houses where Bosasa did free upgrades.
He did it out of his memory.
Out of his memory.
And is that the case with the other 3 residences that you are going to talk to us about as well?
That is true, Chairperson.
Investigators have confirmed a house belonging to each of the following: Minister Nomvula Mokonyane, Chief Magistrate Desmond Nair, Deputy Correctional Services Minister Tabang Makwetla, and the ANC's Vincent Smith.
We are Jen.
Proceedings resume next Monday. Aaron Bates, Johannesburg.
Well, I'll have more news for you at 9 o'clock this evening, but for now, this is the story we've been following closely. The chaos and alleged impropriety in trading at the Public Investment Corporation. You'll know the acronym as the PIC. You want the worrying numbers? Here they are. They're investing 2 trillion rand of government employees' pension money on the JSE. Now it appears even trade unions may have betrayed government employees. A leading unionist, Dennis George, is accused of scoring nearly R1 million in a tainted deal between the PIC and AO Technology Solutions. George has flatly denied the allegations but has declined to appear on our show. He says he is now taking legal advice. Meanwhile, Zwelinzima Vavi, that is the Secretary General of the SA Federation of Trade Unions, SAFTU, says trade unions were offered AO shares at ridiculously low prices in what is called a BEE deal, all, of course, at the expense of workers.
The issue is that at the pre-listing of this company, AO, there was what we call a BEE bonanza, where the directors, these organizations, FEDUSA, Pop Crew, SACTU included, were granted shares at a price of R1.43. And yet the PIC paid for the same shares a staggering 43 rands per share.
Well, the PIC board resigned en masse on Friday, but they say they will stay in place until Finance Minister Tito Mboweni appoints a new board. Who is it going to be, though? Is he dragging his feet? And just how complex is this process? The Public Service Association, who represents over 200,000 government workers, say they should have a say in who will be on that board. Do you agree? We'll speak to them in a moment. And tonight, we speak to Peter Goss, a corporate governance consultant, a regular guest here on ENCA, and Tahi Mayepa, part of the Public Service Association of PSA, on how to make the PIC accountable to the workers who have invested money in it. Let me first begin this evening with Tahir. Good evening to you. Is it possible to try and rescue what many are calling a sinking ship?
Well, PIC, if that's the reference, is too big to fail. And we believe that there's still hope to turn around that ship with all the dramas that are happening there. We believe that, in fact, now, as we speak, it's an opportune moment for the minister to make correct decisions. We have warned the ministers previously about how these boards are constituted, because we are of the firm view and firm legal view that the current board, in any case, was constituted illegally. It was not done in terms of the PIC Act.
Peter Goss, do you agree? Forgive me, Peter Goss?
The issue of how they were appointed, I would also put in dispute. I think what's important is PIC is much more of a stakeholder-inclusive organisation as opposed to merely a shareholder interest organisation. And I think being one that invests the funds of pension funds, for example, it should make sure that it's an inclusive board too. So best practices suggest to you that boards of organizations that should create stakeholder value, stakeholder inclusive value, should be as diverse as representing the grouping of stakeholders, the full grouping of stakeholders.
So that inclusivity of stakeholders this evening, Tahir, as I come back to you, 200,000 odd members with the PSA to have a very, very real interest in what is happening here. What is the impact? I imagine there's some kind of instability, A, within the PIC, B, the payouts, and C, your members this evening are on the phone with you asking, what are you going to do about this instability? A, is there instability, and B, what are you going to do?
Well, the instability that is happening currently in the PIC can only be resolved with the appointment of the board. But the board, the manner in which the board is appointed is going to be key. Because if there's going to be a special, or we cast aspersion in terms of how the board is going to be appointed, then we're in trouble. The minister must be as transparent as possible. We need to know what criteria he uses to appoint the new board. It can't just be done in secret. No, currently still in secret. We don't know what is happening. We wrote to the minister, we wrote to him, and we told him that, Minister, follow the same route that your boss did with NPA. He opened up...
Who's his boss?
Cyril Ramaphosa, the president of the country. He must make sure that it is transparent. He must tell the nation and the public servants what criteria is going to use for that. But what is more important, we don't want a single politician there. Yes, there's arguments in terms of why a deputy minister is part of the PIC board. But we are saying that, remember, government is not necessarily the owner of the asset. We are the owners of the asset. And we own 86% of that asset. And we are saying we need to be included in the decision-making of the PIC, like the statement that has been made now.
Peter Goss, 86% the PSA are telling us they have a say in what the PIC is meant to be doing. What does Tito Mboweni do? And B, does the public need to know how this board is constituted? But first of all, what does Mboweni do?
I think Mboweni should start lifting his head out of a box. And the traditional box is you have this context of regular state-owned entities in which the minister represents the shareholding being dominated by that political structure. What you need is to move towards something like the German model, which is a two-tiered corporate governance model. And that model involves a shareholder, rather a supervisory board, which is stakeholder inclusive. In this case, we're dealing with lots of public funds, funds of the public being government employees. So government employees should strongly be represented on that supervisory board that supervises an executive board that manages day-to-day activities. If you had a clear differentiation between executive responsibilities and supervisory responsibilities, a lot of this risk will be remediated.
Yeah. Tahir, let me come back to you on this. What does it say about the Finance Minister's silence on the resignation? Is he waiting for SONA?
Well, it's a worrying factor because we're not sure what is he waiting for. We haven't received anything from the Treasury. The only statement that we saw, it was on the media to say that the minister is considering the new board. That's all that we got. We haven't received any letter from him indicating how far he is and so forth.
All right, so we have the SONA coming up. Peter Goss, final question to you. Tahir Mayepa, thank you very much indeed. We're going to be watching SONA closely. I know you will as well. Peter Goss, final comment from you. The president of the country, the president of the ANC, very difficult, tight line. He's walking. He has to worry about the unions. What are the unions telling Cyril Ramaphosa tonight ahead of SONA? What does he do? What do they want?
One, they're telling him to start looking at the public funds and making robust decisions around public servants. Two, I think he should start talking. They should be telling him to get more aggressive in including them in their affairs. And I think he should be listening and making those decisions. I think he should try and stop being popular and making the popular decision. I think we should start getting more robust decisions that are uncomfortable. This resignation of a board of 9 or 10 people, to me, is a slap in the face of good corporate governance. Boards don't walk out of leadership. Ministers don't accept that and apply their minds to it over a long period of time. They act. And one of the actions right now is we should be seeing the process of appointing a new board, and I would not allow the entire board to leave. I would keep some bodies there for the sake of continuity. I don't think they're all corrupt. I think there must be 1 or 2 good souls there that can be made to assist in the transfer process from the intellectual knowledge that was left, that is with the current board that's about to leave. If you lose them all, you lose a lot of intellectual value.
And no doubts both of you are going to be watching SONA very, very closely. What the President has to say, and of course what Tito Mboweni will do after that. And no doubts we'll be catching up with both of you in the weeks to come. My thanks to both of you for coming in this evening. It is Tahir Mayepa of the Public Servants Association of the PSA, also closest to me on my left. Peter Goss, a corporate governance consultant, unpacking what is happening at the PIC. Now there is the multi-million-dollar question. Still ahead here on Tonight with Jane Dutton. The war between South Africa's mining industry and its power utility. It's worse than you think. We look at that when we come back in a moment.